Welcome to the I'm In podcast, where you learn to unleash your creative genius, live a more abundant life, and change your world. And now, your host, Heather Hodges.
I am so excited about today's conversation. I met this amazing woman through a mutual friend, Tony Maxwell, and he introduced us on text and said, "You two need to know each other." And sure enough, he was right. Hannah Tomlinson is the CEO of HT Executive Search, where she helps organizations find director to C-suite talent while also consulting and training talent acquisition teams on their best practices. Now, on the Hodges 12, she is a Connector-Strategist-Healer. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Heather. And Tony was so spot on with this introduction. He said, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm talking to Heather. You have to call her." And, after our first conversation, I think about it usually at least once a week of,
Oh my gosh.
I could have talked to you, Heather, for days. And I've been wholeheartedly looking forward to today. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for saying I'm in to being on the podcast and sharing your insights. So
My pleasure.
For those of the world who don't know you yet, can you tell us just a little bit about you, what you do, and maybe a little bit about your work?
Absolutely. And we were chuckling about this. Truth be told, I'm used to the reverse of this, right? Of, hey, the other side.
Evil laugh.
I know. And asking others to unpack who they are. Mm-hmm. And so here we are, right? I'm Hannah Tomlinson. I fell into recruitment like most people do. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, "I'm going to be a recruiter." But some way, somehow, different pieces pull you together onto a journey that you're meant to. And so we get the great opportunity to support private equity groups and nonprofits and for-profits and serve the healthcare space. But a little bit about me, I think this will help everybody kind of understand how I got to here. I grew up in probably the smallest town ever. It's my claim to fame, I guess. 2,400 people, right? No stoplights, right near Canada. The kind of place where everybody knows your name. And if you got new furniture last week,
Wow.
It's like that close, right? And I'm the youngest of 5. And brought up in a family of hardworking parents who drove every day to make sure we had enough. But they also built this dangerous internal fire in all of us of having the confidence to figure it out, having the confidence to bet on ourselves, but to care for everybody along the way so deeply, right? And so, like any good teenager growing up in the middle of nowhere, I was ready to get out. I had stacked and stacked enough wood for a lifetime to stay warm in that area, and went to UVM. Everybody, go to the big city, right? UVM's only 60,000 people in Burlington, Vermont, right?
Wow.
And bartended my way through school, went for psych and special education. And I got to the point where I knew I needed more, and I had outgrown Burlington and I had outgrown Vermont, at least at that point. And I met my husband then, and we had the bright idea, let's sell everything. Let's sell everything, move across country, 2 suitcases apiece, going back to that foundation, bet on ourselves, right? And that changed our lives. I met somebody out there who is still a great mentor of mine, said, you should get into recruiting, and not just recruiting, but healthcare recruiting. It's probably going to be that space that's going to allow you to be you. And in 2008, when nobody was signing up for a 100% straight commission job, crash of the economy and nobody was hiring. And I said, you know what? I can do it. And so I took that 100% straight commission job and I did going back to stacking wood, you do one piece at a time.
Yep.
I remember my mom coming out and doing like sympathy pieces, right? She'd like, oh, I feel bad for you. She'd look out the curtain and come out and do like 20 pieces of wood. And, when you're doing recruiting, it's one call at a time.
Yeah.
Right. And you're building this stack and you're learning who people are. And so, thankfully I was successful, right? Because of the tenacity, but I ended up being that, rookie of the year and biller of the year. And really, eventually I realized I wanted to learn more than just my lane. And so I called my top client at that time and said, you're already paying me in fees respectfully. Can I just come in on the inside and learn how this actually works? And I went in, I wanted to see everything from sitting bedside with patients and families and going out with salespeople and understanding the incredible work that people are doing in an interdisciplinary team environment to exceed expectations. And when it's done so well and artfully and holistically, that's when it becomes this like magical experience. And so I got addicted to that of how can we continue to create dangerous, holistic teams that help people be successful, but organizations be successful. And not just for the today moment, but for that tomorrow strategy. And, it was fun, right? I went into the inside. Nobody knows this actually, Heather, so I'm going to share with you a secret.
Okay, I'm ready.
Before I went in on the inside, I wrote on a piece of paper, because I was 100% straight commission and I was successful, right, in the outside. I wrote on a piece of paper 10 years. I thought, 10 years was going to give me the time to learn and mature. I was fairly confident in myself, so I needed to be humbled and rounded, and I wanted to listen to people who knew more than I did, and I wanted to be poured into. And that 10-year mark came around, and it was either going to be 10 years or 30,000 personal connections, and I hit both in the same year. And so I talk about this a lot with those who, I do some executive coaching as well. And I held myself compassionately accountable to that little piece of paper. And I quit my corporate job and I scratched another little piece of paper, which is my quote unquote business plan at the time. And I said, I can, and I'm possible. And I'm going to bet on myself because it's time. Like I was ready to evolve and I had outgrown kind of what I just needed more. I loved the people, loved the teams that I was working with, but I was ready to serve in different ways. So it's me. Nutshell.
What a story. I love that. I mean, the journey itself, but then also the outcome. And I wrote it down. Dangerous holistic teams.
Yes.
Wow.
It still gives me goosebumps when I know it's the right person and think about the impact that they're going to have. It never gets old.
Yeah.
And then following, that's the other piece that people know about me is not only will I build the team, but then I check up on the team and see how they're doing. And that's that retention piece that I commit to with my clients is I'm not just going to bring you somebody and hope that they stay. I'm going to bring you someone and pour into them to ensure that they stay.
Yeah. And that's your, from the research that I do in the Hodges 12, that's your connector genius
Yes.
at play. And then your strategist that goes along with that. And Oh yeah, it's so clear. Well, I'm
Super fun.
curious. It is so fun.
Yeah.
When you think about the word creativity, what usually comes to mind?
It's funny, but not, because I think that there's so much work to be done here, which is why I'm so excited that you've created this. Creativity for me, if you ask me, we see all those interviews on the street, what is creativity, right? Initially, you think about art, tangible, created art of somebody who has more skill than I to create something of worth to sell or something like that, right? Of somebody who's been allowed the time or given themselves permission to permission to take the time to sit and create. And so when I think about creativity, I think about art.
That is, I mean, it's such a common perception that we have, especially in
Yes.
the U.S. of
Yes.
creativity. And but before you took my assessment, the Hodges 12, would you have considered yourself creative?
I compare myself to my husband, who
Yeah.
I think we often compare ourselves to someone, right? Who is quote unquote creative. And if I had to snap answer it, because I was thinking creativity in art and music and other outlets, I think, as you said, it's a perception in the US. We're taught often, here are the creatives, here are the numbers people, or here are the creatives and here are the athletes in school. And we learn to put ourselves in these categories. And I was, varsity level athlete, and I think strategically, like I'm always thinking 3 steps ahead, and I'm always thinking about the connections and the people. And before taking your assessment, I wouldn't have put that in the quote unquote it is creative, right? But I wouldn't have put it as holistically in that creative bucket as I do now after taking your assessment. So,
Wow. So when you first saw your profile, and when you take the Hodges 12, you get a trifecta, your top 3 types. What was your reaction?
I sent it to my husband right away.
Yeah.
I said, here's me. I mean, he knows me already. We've been together 23 years, but it was beyond spot on. And I stepped back and I read it out loud and I thought, this is me in everything that I do. It was humbling and inspiring at the same time to feel, wait a minute, I am creative in so many different ways, and appreciating that about ourselves. I think sometimes we're appreciating so many things about other people that we don't always pause and appreciate these unique details about the art and the craft that we are bringing to the table on a daily basis. So, maybe I'm not painting every weekend, but I'm building human puzzles of dangerous teams, right? And, additionally, what I really loved, Heather, too, when we got the reports back, is the side by side that it gives you and the notes of you will thrive in these environments and you will likely struggle in these environments. And I don't know if we want to go into those at the moment, but it was telling to me based upon some of my past experiences with different supervisors or environments where now I know why I struggled. I read it and I was like, okay, that makes sense. I get why that wasn't the right environment for me to truly thrive and be successful. But also, it's that leadership piece of creating environments and giving people the permission to be creative. Yeah.
I'm curious, when you read the profiles, especially that thrive and struggle section where it talks about those environments, what jumped out at you?
Yeah, I'd have to pull it up here again, but there was a couple that were like on the strategist side, it's you'll feel drained when, or
Mm-hmm.
you will likely struggle in environments that micromanage, or,
Mm-hmm.
um, demand immediate results over strategic thinking, because sometimes it's not going to be boom, 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 boom in
Mm-hmm.
recruitment, and make decisions based upon politics rather than strategy. And for me, I need to be in an environment where I can contribute and I
Mm-hmm.
can care and I can share my voice and have those creative outlets. And that wasn't always the case, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's when we find ourselves potentially unhappy,
Mm-hmm.
because we are in environments that are kind of stifling our true selves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's amazing that when it does fit, that you get in that environment and you're using all of your gifts together, it just feels so right. And I'm thinking about, just from
Yeah.
your perspective, your role, your job, your life's work is making that happen for people. And,
Yes.
just how
Yeah.
wonderful that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It never, still goosebumps never gets old. But,
Hmm.
the other piece of some of our clients are using us for portions, right? Of, hey, we need you to fill this role. Um, but the clients that we're seeing that are finding the most success are letting us in more, right? They're bringing us to meetings. They're allowing me to kind of be a fly on the wall so I can really take that true look under the hood of, what are the missed opportunities? We're doing great here, here, and here, but and this is that creative strategy side of me. What have
Hmm.
we not thought about yet?
Mm.
And that's when the magic starts to really happen.
Hmm. Hmm. I wonder if a lot of recruiters have Connector in their top three
Yeah.
trifecta. Like, it
Yeah.
seems like that would make a lot of sense.
Yes. And if they don't, maybe it's one of those moments, right? Where um, I think everybody should be recruiting. I talk a lot about talent acquisition as a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so maybe they're better in HR or ops or something that is a bit more, um, not so much the art side of the people
Mm-hmm.
seeing, but
Mm-hmm.
the science side of the service ones that are already in the
Mm.
organization. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe everybody brings a unique lens to talent acquisition, and it's figuring out how to play on that team sport agenda.
Yeah. What a
Yeah.
great way to think about it. Like, it's not just you out there doing it. This is a team sport, and we have to do it together to be successful.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I'd love to hear more about your work and anything that you're building or leading that you're just super excited about this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thankful.
Hmm.
I get the great opportunity to come alongside leaders and organizations who, some of them have known me all 17, 18 years now that I've been doing this, and I trust them to care for people holistically. And so to help them think about talent and talent acquisition in different ways is so meaningful. And we operate in the lane of, like, I feel like I wear their badge every day. And so I appreciate the partnership, right? And the trust. And this year is a big efficiency year for us. So
Mm-hmm.
even though we're building and serving, I'm looking at alternative systems in the future, right? And AI, like everybody else right now. And so, how do we continue to be effective and efficient and holistic and serve. And that's just a big focus for me right now of, when I started this, I just started this to be able to be that perfect sandwich generation, right? Care for my network, because I tell people I want to love on you, but there's a lot. So please, text me, email me, call me, right? But I wanted to serve my kids and serve my aging parents. And it's starting to grow. And I'm leaning into that growth because I don't have any desire, Heather, and I know this is going to sound funny from a business owner. I have zero care to be big. I just want to be meaningful and relevant and holistic, right? And so when we think about building, it's purposeful based upon what our trusted clients need and want from us, right? And making sure when we say yes that we can do it and we have the time to really do it. We're consulting some amazing teams right now. We're doing some wonderful executive searches, and that whole connector-strategist-healer side, that healer side in me loves the executive coaching because it's the fostering of that belief of hope and future and forward motion. Yes, rear view is important, but where are you headed and how do you get there and how do we keep strategically marching forward? So it's been a fun couple of years. I started this in 2023, right? And so we're right around the corner of 3 years here in May, which feels weird and funny at the same time. But it's been great. It's been really great.
And what you're describing, though, is how you use all three of your geniuses, your creative geniuses together, the connector strategist and the healer. And when it sounds like to me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like what I hear you saying is that you're in a place now where you can use all of your gifts fully, and it just feels so right.
Yes. It's weird, but finally, right? Yeah, we get to that point where it's the okay. And I don't think, and you tell me, but I don't think that you can be a true strategist without effectively connecting and healing along the way. So think about leadership for a minute, right? And we think, okay, we have this strategic vision or we have this initiative. And if we're not connecting the dots and truly honoring the dot the I, the cross the T, the make sure that we are not leaving any cracks in the foundation before we continue to step forward, right? And then making sure that people feel seen and heard and valued and honored and part of the vision forward. That's that healing piece. Everybody wants to feel part of something. And if they don't feel that they're in the quote unquote in circle, they're out. So I think the greatest strategists are exceptional connectors who are healing everybody along the way. And I guess that's how I want to continue to sprint. I want to surround myself with people who are not too focused on the numbers and the outcomes and the this and the that they've forgotten about how everybody feels, the why, and where we're headed, and inspiring people to take ownership of it too and feel on the inside.
One person at a time, one piece of wood stacked at a time.
Oh, don't remind me. I wouldn't mind
Um,
stacking wood now, but 8 to 10 cord of wood per
that's
winter
a
is a
lot.
lot of
That's a
wood.
lot of wood. Oh my gosh. Well, I geek
Yeah.
out in my research when, especially in conversations, when I get to, to be face to face with somebody and hear
Yeah.
about their creative process. And I'm curious,
Yep.
when when you are in your creative space and that, that heads down or whatever that looks like for you, what
Yeah.
conditions or what environment help you do your best creative work?
I think I'll probably connect with a lot of people on this is, I work from home.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working from home since before it was cool, right?
Yeah.
2012. And
Wow.
yes, I know I travel around to do my thing, but um, I need it to be bright
Mm.
and clean and tidy to allow for relaxation and really essentially giving myself permission to be creative because quote unquote everything else is done. And that's that guilty pleasure that I need to give myself permission that everything doesn't need to be done right then and there. But I do need also to carve out specific time. I'm a self-proclaimed, been called a lot of things, calendar pirate.
Okay.
Um, if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening
Mm-hmm.
that day. And I talk a lot about this with my executive coaching clients. Schedule it, own it, do it, reap the benefits from
Mm-hmm.
it. Right. And, eat the frog and all of those things. I mean, sometimes I don't want to do it first thing in the morning, but if it's scheduled and calendared, that's that compassionate accountability playing in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's been this foundation of my entire success
Mm.
is package and move, right? But calendar and own it. And, I have people come to me, different recruiting teams saying, I have 40 recs. I can't fit it all in. And within 30 minutes, I show them how to fit it all in. And they're like, well, now I don't have any more excuses to get the work done, right?
Yeah.
So, a calendar pirate is probably one of my most favorite
Yeah.
things I've
Yeah.
been called.
So having that structure in your day gives you space for creative thinking.
I have to.
Got it.
Yeah, it's that permission piece again.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, and it's the sprinting during that time. It's the, okay, here's my 30-minute rock and roll. Let's go. I'm on my toes. And it's inspiring. You can feel it in your belly if you set it up right? Our setup is our clothes, right? And we need to set ourselves up for that journey.
Wow. Well, what role does creativity play in your industry, in executive recruiting, talent acquisition, that people might not expect?
I think people get, and they may expect this, but I think people get stuck in gut reactions. Creativity and hiring comes from knowing the far-reaching tentacles of your current team.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all had moments in time where we thought, gosh, I don't know if our boss truly knows who we are in our true capacity, right? Not assuming their worth or potential. And thinking about how to hire not just for your today team and size, but hiring for the vision and the future. And I'll tell you how my favorite executives I work with aren't hiring just for, I need them to do this today. They are thinking 2 years, 3 years down the road and thinking about the puzzle and the pieces and the plays that they're going to make and having bench strength and making the right investments. And so that's where that art and science comes in and the creativity of building dangerous, unbreakable webs of talent, right? We see leaders get stuck in those gut reactions for the need for speed, right? Or often because somebody reminds them of a past employee that maybe didn't work out for whatever reason, right? And they partner and pair the two, and they've already moved on, and they never gave that person the time to unpack their why they're special, why they're unique. And it's this fast judgment world that we live in that is really impacting creative hiring. I had another leader the other day say, gosh, you know what, Hannah, I felt it in my gut. They didn't have a sense of urgency. Mind you, this was a mom of 3 who put herself through school to get her master's while working full time. And one of her 3 children has special needs. I think we all can agree she can get things done.
Yep. I would
And
absolutely
she's
say so.
super dangerous and, has a sense of urgency and probably is the most ridiculous calendar pirate on the planet, right?
She has to be.
Yes. Yeah. And so was it her tone? Was it her, and so I think we miss the opportunity to, our gut reactions are an unchecked data point, and we need to dig deeper. And we don't always have the skills and the talents to do that.
Yeah. I'd love to circle back to something you mentioned a while ago, and it's something we're all working with, AI versus the human creativity. And, that's my world is human creativity, but I also, venture out into how do we incorporate AI as a partner. But in your world, what does that look like? Because you're talking about that gut intuitive reaction. Sometimes we get data points from AI. How do those work together in your world?
There's so many different things with AI right now that, quite honestly, I don't know if we know the full capacity of what's out there. The data points, it's interesting, right? You could even ask ChatGPT. They said this. What does this really mean? It's important for us to understand how to use AI to improve potentially speed in the work that we do. But I don't think in this space anybody will, a computer is not going to make you feel seen and valued and heard. And so for me, AI is more of a tool to allow me to connect more, to allow me to share more time and to do deeper dives with teams versus maybe doing some of the write-ups. There's AI tools that are an overlay that can capture everything we're saying right now and print it up into a beautiful little presentation, and that I can share with a client, right? So I think it's being open to it, and there's so many organizations out there saying, we do AI. I have a client actually that I love. They've been doing AI since before it was cool. They started a company 6 years ago, and they're ready to full send. And it's so exciting to see what they've developed. But I think it's just being mindful and allowing it in where it makes sense, but not replacing the human connection. And that's what I'm going to be all about moving forward for sure.
Yeah. I love that so much, because that's something AI will never replicate and can never do, is have that human touch, the human connection.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, when we think about the definition of creativity, it's just the production of novel and useful ideas.
Yeah.
And innovation is implementing those ideas, taking those ideas, and then you do the hard part of putting it into practice. What do you think is the hardest part of turning creativity into innovation, specifically in your field?
Yeah. I think going back to that interviewing for the capacity, and this is a great little data point, but less than 3% of companies across the country, and I've worked in 45 states, right? There's a couple that I haven't touched, they're just far out there, right? But less than 3% of companies, all healthcare, you name it, provide interview training, right? And then we have everybody focused on retention. And so we don't have interview training, but we're trying to retain the right talent. And then we have the data point you shared, I think, on a previous podcast that said 75% of employees don't feel they have the permission to be creative. So how do we retain them? How do we make sure we're hiring correctly? And how do we ensure that the interview practices are what we need for these specific positions? And so I really see this as a massive intertwined problem. And I don't like the word problem. I always like to replace it with opportunity, right? It's a massive problem because the people who grow will have the talent.
Yeah.
And the people who have the best culture will allow those people to be creative, and they'll give permission, and then they'll retain staff. And then everybody will know why they're special and unique versus trying to guess of, hey, come be a nurse here. Well, why? Right? Why should I join you over the next? And so I really feel we have to reverse engineer this approach and hire innovative thinkers with an extreme desire to be successful, hire for impact, hire for those who care and can think strategically, scientifically, holistically, and or from a teacher's perspective about where we're headed and how we get there and how we keep everybody on the bus. And I think right now, and honestly for a long time, it's not just right now, everything's so transactional. This opening equals this background. And I believe we're missing the opportunity to color in the lines. And we're assuming we know what the picture looks like before it's even truly been developed.
What a great visual. Yeah. Well, in your experience, I'm going to ask it for two ways. What kills creativity, but then also what nurtures it? Before, what kills it before it has a chance to take root, and what can nurture it and give it that cultural environment where we can have these dangerous holistic teams?
Yeah. I think to that squash it out of the gate is time and permission. When I was young and thought I knew everything, right? And I had all these ideas. And it was the first time I met somebody who did see me holistically. He's now an amazing HRO of a large healthcare organization. He said, Hannah, I see you. I want all of these creative ideas. And respectfully, I don't have time to digest all of them right now. So let's give you a space to put all of your creative ideas so that we can tackle and digest them. And that was the first leader that gave me permission to be creative and said, hey, I don't have the time today, but I have the time in the future, right? Future one-on-ones. And we'll think about how to bake this into not just your agenda, but the company's strategic agenda and how to move forward, right? And I think people get stuck in, I have an agenda, and I'm creative and I have these ideas, but they don't always see how to interweb those ideas with the greater good for the organization and the greater good of the team. And it takes the right leader to artfully set those individuals up for success, but help them understand maybe why not that idea today, or why this makes sense 2 to 3 months from now, or let's do this first, right? And so many times you hear people say, they don't hear me, they don't see me, they don't value my thoughts or opinions. Maybe that's not the case. They just haven't painted the picture of how those thoughts and opinions can make an impact moving forward. So it's kind of twofold, right? Of time and permission. And then how do we the greatest leaders give time and permission and set all individual thinkers up for success on their teams.
Yeah. So the answer is it's two sides of the same coin. It's
Right.
on one hand, when you have the time and permission and the leader support, you can be more creative. But if you're missing those, then you'll be less creative. And that's kind of what squash creativity out of
Yes.
when it just can't even get out of the gates.
Can't even get out of the gate. You have no
Wow.
space, no time, no permission. Just go do your job.
Oh my gosh. I've heard that so many times in my research, in my interviews and podcasts where people like they have these great ideas, but then a leader says, that's not your lane. That's not what I hired you for. Don't think. Just go make
Don't
the
think,
widget.
just do.
Go do that thing that you're hired to do. Yeah. And you're right. It squashes it right out the gates. And I think that's why we get the statistic of 75% of employees say they're not using their full creativity at work because we're missing a lot there.
And then you miss the retention initiative, the complete and entire opportunity to retain that creative thinker who is passionate about doing more, right? We always say do more with less. They want to do more than what you hired them to do. And it's carving out that specific time. I think leaders get stuck in the need for, I need to have the answer right away, or I need to respond to them right away, or I need to address this right away. And the power comes from, gosh, that's a great idea. Let's schedule some time to unpack that so I can make sure I'm in a place to receive that holistically so that we can think about maybe some far-reaching tentacles that could impact this. And maybe we'll think about other creatives that we can pull in to the mix and allow for true every angle, every lens, matrix environment on how to tackle this for the organization. Thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Right there. That's what you say. And it's crazy. If the research all backs it up, Hannah, if you want to build a culture, no one wants to leave, unleash your employees' creativity.
Right.
That the dots are very close. You don't even have to connect them. They're already touching.
They're touching.
Yeah. So
we want to get out of bed every day and feel
Yes.
on our toes. And I talk a lot about rocking, change management practices too, right? Where we assume, oh, they'll be fine. And we forget to address or package. And we have employees getting up on their heels every day. And that's impacting your growth and impacting potentially patient family outcomes, right? Especially, I work, like I said, a lot of healthcare, a lot of post-acute, a lot of care at home organizations. I do this because not only do I want to impact the people, but if I'm helping a healthcare client, I know what I'm doing is impacting their mom, their dad, their aunt, their sister. There's someone that's important. And so we have to get up every day and lead with that.
That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, Hannah, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. But before I let you go, I have a mascot, my trusty little research assistant, Percy the penguin. He's kind of been knocking on the door over here, wanting to come in. So Percy, come on in. I hear you. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, Percy, he's got some questions for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Percy's first question comes to you. He brought this to you from a previous guest, Elizabeth Vahey Smith. She's from Virginia, but she lives in Vietnam right now. And she would like to know, what is a quote that you've heard that has changed how you approach challenges?
Yeah. I had a book suggested to me by my brother. Youngest of 5, right? We're all reading and connecting and inspiring each other to say, hey, read this, read that. And he said, gosh, you got to read this Maxwell book. And it's life is a 10-speed bike. Most of us have gears we haven't used yet, or we never use. I forget how that quote goes.
Wow.
I think,
Wow.
when you think, oh gosh, what gear am I in? I don't know. I think I'm probably, from a humble place in gear 5 or 6 or somewhere in that. But if we get to the point where we can continue to face challenges and continue to allow ourselves to evolve and grow and accept those moments to have conversations and to learn and be inspired, that's when I think we'll continue to change those gears and grow through challenges. Like, I don't feel like I met you by chance, right? I think this is a moment in time to share and serve each other's journey. And I get excited by thinking about the gears you're on and other people are on, and how can we help each other get to that 10th gear.
Yeah. Yeah. Just imagine, what if we did? What if everybody
Cool.
used all the gears, used all their gifts, dug deep and found that, there's one gear more that you haven't tapped into yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm
Super
excited.
fun.
I'm excited to watch you use all 10 gears.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that.
It's going to be a fun ride. I still,
Yes.
a lot more to do.
Yeah. Well, Percy's second question for you is, what's a question you would like to ask a future guest?
Yeah. Gosh, that's great to think about. For me, I'm about how you make people feel, right? And how you're remembered. I think that comes from being in hospice for so long. I worked for, a really amazing hospice organization for many years. And so I guess I would ask this, as you move through your daily tasks and all that's required of us, and recognizing all who rely on you, what will be your legacy? How will people talk about you for years to come?
Wow. That's a good one. Brilliant. I cannot
Fun
wait
to
to
think
ask.
about.
It is fun to think about. Like, who do you want them to say you were to them?
Yeah.
All right. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for giving us that gem of a question.
Oh gosh.
So,
I think if we
beautiful.
can all think about how we want to be remembered, our communities will be wonderful places to be.
I think we'd certainly be more intentional about our
Yes.
conversations, our interactions, our decisions.
It's so funny. That's my word for this year. I
Really?
always pick a word for the year,
Yeah?
and it's intentionality.
Intentionality. I love it. Can I adopt it too?
100%.
I love it.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my gosh.
can.
Hannah, where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about your work?
Absolutely. We're, of course, all over LinkedIn. I think that's an easy, quick
Yeah.
way to connect with me there. We have a company page on LinkedIn too. So I think following that will be important if people are looking for shifts in their career. But, my LinkedIn page, there's a
Okay.
quick little link that you can click book an appointment. And I believe every conversation is important. So don't be afraid to book it and see kind of how I might be able to serve your organization with talent, or where you're headed next in your career. And just know whatever lane you're in, it's going to fill my bucket. So it's never a waste of time to go ahead and book it.
So you work with organizations and individuals. Is that what I
I
hear
work
you
with
saying?
organizations, yep, on searches. And then I work with the individuals thinking about executive coaching, right? And what's next and how to evolve. A couple of the people I'm working with right now, they want to be a VP and they want to be an SVP or a C-suite at some point in time. And so what do they need to do to evolve in their thinking and presentation, and just thinking more strategically, right? How are they going to contribute in a different lens that they're welcomed into those rooms, right? And so that also too never gets old of seeing somebody grow and be promoted or grow and go on to be that SVP or that C something. It's it never gets old being in somebody's corner and being everybody's favorite cheerleader.
And you are the perfect person to do that. I
Yay!
mean, your gifts perfectly align to do that. Hannah, thank you so much for being on the
Gosh.
podcast today. I have enjoyed this conversation, and I'm looking forward to watching this year come alive and thrive for you, and the intentionality of it, and whatever is next for you. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us in this conversation. And if you haven't followed the podcast yet, please go ahead and hit that follow button, and we will show up in your feed when we drop a new episode. And I'd love it if you would leave a review. It helps more people find us and join the conversation. And if you want to discover your own creative genius type, your creative genius trifecta, please go to thehodges12.com to take the assessment, and I will put a link in the episode notes. So until next time, keep saying I'm in to creativity and bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.